From R.D. Smothers Wealth Management, this is The Retirement.
When you retire, if you want an exciting life, you need a boring investment strategy.
Matters.
If you enter into retirement without a plan for income, you're not retired, you're simply unemployed.
Podcast.
Hey, this is your host, Dale Smothers, and you're listening to the Retirement Matters Podcast. My hope is that you will find the information you need in every single show on how to do one of the three things: either saving more money more efficiently, planning better for your future where you can live in retirement worry-free, or my favorite, how you can live a happy and fulfilled life in this life you have been given. We know that your time is valuable, and we appreciate you spending it listening to this episode of the Retirement Matters Podcast. Good morning to you. I hope you're doing well and you are ready to start discussing all things retirement matters. I'm just getting back from a couple weeks off from the radio show. Took a little bit of personal time throughout the last couple of weeks, and to say that the last couple of weeks have been eventful would be an understatement. As a matter of fact, this past week has been one of the most eventful weeks we've had in a long time. We woke up on Monday to one of the worst days we've had in a few years. And, it came off of a Sunday, which for Japan was their Monday, where the Japanese market, the Nikkei, if you're not familiar with that, that's like the S&P 500 for the Japanese markets. It measures the largest companies in Japan. The Nikkei had one of the worst days it has had since 1987. And that invoked a lot of fear and uncertainty here back at home because we are all connected. And so all the way across the Pacific Ocean, our markets open up on Monday morning for us at 9:30 in a complete sell-off. And the roller coaster began throughout the entire week, the ups and the downs, but they were very wild, and they moved a lot. Let's just say it that way. We're going to unpack a little bit about what took place, and then we're going to talk to you about why it doesn't really matter, and why you as a retiree or someone who's looking to invest money to be there for you in the future, whether that future is a couple of years away or that future is a couple of decades away, you should be making decisions and moves inside of these types of volatile markets based off of one thing and one thing alone. And it does not have to do with a jobless report that comes out on a Monday or a ADP report that comes out on a Friday. It has to do with where you are in your journey. And we're going to unpack a little bit of that as we go through the remainder of the show. But before we do, as you are very well aware, we have to cover the first and most important section of the show, in my opinion, and that is the pause for positivity. Too much negativity going on in the world. Too many things to be fearful of or angry over. And what we want to do on this show each and every week is take a look at something either positive in the news, or maybe it's a positive story that we can glean a little bit of wisdom from. Or maybe sometimes we just do this inward reflection where we look at ourselves and see if there's a way to potentially grow or sharpen a skill that maybe has gotten a little bit dull due to the weather, the environment that we find ourselves in. And whether we like it or not, it is the society that we find ourselves in. I still believe that this nation is the greatest nation in the world. We have our struggles, we have our ups and our downs, we have our good guys and our bad guys. It's always been and will continue to be. But the reality of our situation has a lot to do with our perception. And on this section of the show, every week, we seek to find a different perspective. That's the objective of this 2 to 3, sometimes as much as 10 minutes that we spend on the show. And so I want to tell you something that I heard a couple of days ago that I just thought was bizarre. And I want to just unpack that with you here. I want to dive in just for a few minutes and talk around it and give you my thoughts. And I want you to think with me. This is a brainstorming exercise. It's me and you right here. We're just talking to one another as friends. Unfortunately, I can't hear what you have to say, but I do want you to give your own thought to this because it's a pretty powerful message at the end. I was talking to a young man the other day, and he was telling me about his much younger sister who is still in high school. This young man was telling me a story, and throughout the course of his story, he was talking about getting to meet with his family this past weekend. They went and saw a concert, if I'm not mistaken, and if this young man is listening, he knows exactly who I'm talking to. This gentleman told me that his younger sister just seemed kind of off. Something wasn't right about her. He hadn't seen her smile since he gotten there, and he was just curious what was going on. So he went over to her and asked her how she was doing. And within the matter of a few minutes, he could tell that she no longer had braces. She had had braces for the last 2 to 3 years, and she was no longer wearing her braces. So he complimented her. Sis, your teeth look great. You look incredible. Your smile is beautiful. I'm so excited for you to get your braces off. Now, within just a few minutes, he could tell that she did not share the same excitement. So he began to explain to me that apparently in school today, it is a positive thing. It's a fad to have braces. Braces are the cool, popular thing to have. And if you have your braces taken off, well, congratulations, you're no longer popular or cool. Your smile is funny, weird. There's that word again. Your smile is weird, or your smile is funny. Okay, that made me pause for a second. He was telling me a story about something entirely different. I said, wait a minute, explain to me how in the world this became the new standard for cool. That kids have to have braces to be cool, or that without braces, you're not as cool as if you have braces. Because when I went to school, having braces was not the most popular thing. As a matter of fact, it was probably something you dreaded. And now, according to this gentleman that I was speaking with, the most popular thing is to actually have braces. It seems as if a lot of the world has just flipped upside down. And this is a very simple thing. This doesn't matter. It doesn't impact anyone's life except maybe the ones who have and don't have braces. But at the end of the day, the message remains the same. If we are living to please others, if we're living our life and conforming the way we behave just to make others think that we are cool or just to make others happy, we are doing life wrong. Now, there's this fine line between sacrificing for the benefit of others and being able to, quote unquote, love them as you would want to be loved, right? I'm all for that. But when someone else's opinion of me means more to me than what my own opinion of me means, then I have some things that I need to work on inside. I've heard it said like this, a lot of people need you in this life, but there's no one who needs you more than you. And how bizarre is it that our society now moves as a herd? What was certainly ignorant just a few years ago is now the mainstream thinking. And I'm not talking about braces. There's a list of things that I could name. There's a list of things that no matter what side of the aisle you vote on, 10 years ago, we would all agree X, Y, or Z is absurd. And now it's just normal. You have to accept it. Because why? Well, everyone else thinks that it's popular. Here's what I believe. I believe that there is only one thing outside of your own will and ambition that should deter how you live your life. Only one thing outside of that, and that is Christ. As long as it is not blatantly disobeying the word of God, there is nothing wrong with you making up your own mind. This is what I would challenge you to do. Look at things in your life and realize, do I want these because I want them, or do I want these things because other people see me with these things? And with that, I become, quote unquote, popular. I know this is a childish emotion, but unfortunately, if we're not careful, it's very simple to fall prey to these childish emotions. And as I wrap up this thought, I hope that you've been thinking with me how bizarre it is now that braces are the cool thing. But that happens a lot in society. And from the financial perspective, this is my last little tidbit here on this. I want you to think through this with me. As we go through the week and as you go through life, there are two filters to pass every purchase through. Material things, specifically, where it's easy for us to maybe possess them or desire them because it's the popular thing to have. And so I want you to think through this with me. And it's something that I'm challenging myself to do here recently since I've heard it, is would I want this item even if no one knew that I had it or could see me have it? And number two, if God told me to sacrifice it, could I? Could I give it away? Could I give it to my fellow man? Yes or no? And if it doesn't pass those filters, maybe we should give second thought to the purchase entirely. Now, I'll tell you this. I am certainly still challenging myself to measure up to those. But if we could pass things through that filter, number one, making sure that we want it because we want it, not because someone else wants it. And number two, making sure that it doesn't become a god or an idol to us. This will certainly lead us down the path towards a more fulfilled lifestyle. I'm confident of that. All right, as I look at the clock, we're a third of the way through the allotted time for this show, so I better speed it up. We spent a little more time on the positive focus than I anticipated. We're coming right back after a short break. And if you've been wondering what's taking place inside of the market to cause all of this volatility, we're going to unpack a little bit of that in the next section. Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back after this.
You're listening to the Retirement Matters Show with Dale Smothers. If you'd like to listen to past episodes and find exclusive content and full-length interviews, search for the Retirement Matters podcast on the podcast platform of your choice, or visit us online at rdswealth.com. Unfortunately, for many retirees, they're simply trading in the stress of work for the stress and worry about their financial future. At RD Smothers Wealth Management, our goal is to help build you a retirement plan that provides a smooth transition away from the time clock and into the time of your life. So even if you're still waiting on work retirement, we want to help you retire now from the worry of retirement funding. If you'd like to chat with a member of our team, you can do so absolutely free by calling 270-600-PLAN. That's 270-600-PLAN. Visit us online at rdswealth.com and be sure to sign up for our free weekly newsletter.
All right, welcome back to the show. Let's jump into what took place over the last few days to cause such market volatility. You may already be aware of this, but there are reports that come out the first Friday of every month. And these reports, I won't go through the alphabet soup of what they're called, but the reports give us things like what inflation is, what jobless rate is in America, what the jobs being created rate of growth is in America. They give us a report on manufacturing expenses, which kind of gives us a little bit of an indicator on whether or not manufacturing companies are expanding and planning on having good growth for the next month. It gives us a lot of indicators on how quickly, if at all, the economy is growing. So for the month of August, the reports come out that kind of tell us July's numbers. Month over month, we saw a slowing in things like job creation. We saw a growth in unemployment. We saw a slowdown on manufacturing activity. These types of reports caused a little bit of uncertainty, a little bit of fear in thinking that the Fed had made a bad decision just a few days prior to keep rates where they were. The Federal Reserve at the beginning of the year had told us they were going to do several rate cuts. So for the last several months, the market has been reacting favorably, thinking a rate cut's coming, a rate cut's coming. But we've gotten all the way to August with no rate cut, and it seems as if there's not going to be a rate cut all the way into September. And then the bad news kind of starts to play in the background. Now, it's not altogether bad news. It's just not extremely good news. There is a difference. And we're going to discuss that in just a few minutes. But what these indicators are telling us is things are starting to slow down a little bit. We go into the weekend knowing that there's a hurricane bearing down on the East Coast. We go into the weekend knowing that Iran and Israel are at odds. Iran makes an announcement that it will come down on Israel like the world has never seen before. A lot of uncertainty is brewing on Sunday. And then on Monday morning, we get reports here that the Nikkei in Japan, and if you missed the beginning of the show, the Nikkei is essentially the S&P 500 equivalent of Japanese markets. It's the largest companies in Japan. The Nikkei has had the worst day it's had since 1987. Since 1987, there's not been a worse day than what just occurred. And so a lot of people tried to get out in front of what they felt would be a bloodbath in the markets. Well, here's the thing. When people sell, the market goes down. And when the market goes down, unfortunately, people sell. And so it's very easy to see that a cycle begins that is almost impossible to get out of until the craziness leaves the room. When all of the crazy sellers have left, things start to calm down. And I'm not calling the people that are selling crazy. I'm just saying people are selling without even wondering how much this stock or asset is worth. Just 24 hours ago, it was worth 5 or 10% more, and now take it away from me. I don't want it anymore, is the behavior that takes place inside of these sell-offs in the market. So fast forward to the end of close of the market. The 4 o'clock bell rings and the markets are down. We've had a terrible day on Monday. Then fast forward to Thursday when we get a jobless report that actually gives us positive news again. You see, there's a lot of news out here right now that is contradicting with itself. And because people are afraid of the market and afraid of a 2008 type crash and recession, we have a lot of things that will be heard with a bias. Here's the analogy that I like to use when we discuss these types of turbulent markets. I want you to think of an airplane, and I want you to think of the last time maybe you flew on an airplane. I want you to think about turbulence in the air. The instant that we hit turbulence, what if just, let's say in a crazy world, in the world of bizarro land, the instant you hit turbulence, you saw 10 people jump out of the airplane because they were afraid it was going to crash. And maybe some of them have a parachute and some of them don't. Some of them are just following the herd. Would you jump out of the airplane? Would you leave the airplane at that particular time? I have to imagine that the answer to that is no. We've all been there. We've all seen and experienced rough air. Recently, we've seen such rough air that airplanes are dropping thousands of feet in seconds, but still recovering and getting their passengers safely to the destination. As long as passengers have their seatbelt on, no one is hurt. Man, there's so many parallels there and in what's going on in the market right now. What about this? What if we got a readout every, let's say, 10 seconds of how fast the airplane is going and what the altitude of the airplane was? Let's just imagine. And let's just imagine that the first time we saw that the pilot had slowed the airplane down, let's say he went from 400 miles an hour to 390 miles an hour, everyone freaks out. Everyone panics, and 10 or 20 people jump out of the airplane. Are you jumping out of the airplane? What if whenever we see that the altitude has changed by 500 feet, the altitude went from 30,000 feet to 29,500 feet? Are you going to immediately scream, the plane is crashing? No, of course not. So many parallels there that we can unpack. And that's exactly what I want to do with you after this break. When we come back, we're going to take this analogy of the airplane, the readout of altitude and speed, and the understanding that turbulence happens, and we are going to help you understand where you need to be and what you need to be doing in your retirement journey, depending on where you are on that journey. Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back after this with more Retirement Matters.
Thank you for listening to Retirement Matters, presented by R.D. Smothers Wealth Management. We help folks just like you retire the way they desire and live happy in retirement. If you'd like to speak with us, maybe even just ask some questions, give us a call at 270-600-PLAN. That's 270-600-PLAN. And if you enjoy the information in this show and would like to hear more, you can access previous shows by searching for the Retirement Matters podcast on the podcast platform of your choice. That's the Retirement Matters podcast, available to you 24/7 wherever you listen to podcasts. We also produce a weekly newsletter. Receive it free to your email inbox by signing up online at rdswealth.com. That's rdswealth.com to sign up for our free weekly newsletter. Our phone number once again, 270-600-PLAN, and online at rdswealth.com. Be sure to sign up for our free weekly newsletter.
All right, welcome back to the show. Let's jump into this analogy right away. We've got about 7 or 8 minutes to get deep into this analogy that I used about the airplane. And just in case you missed it, let's go back over it. So I was talking about an airplane ride, which many of us have been on commercial airline. I want you to think about getting a notification, let's say, on your phone every 10 seconds that tells you the speed of the airplane. You're sitting in the back, enjoying your ride, when all of a sudden a notification comes on your phone. So there's been a 5% decrease in speed of the airplane. Everyone around you gets the same notifications that you get. And let's just imagine that all of the sudden 20 people get up out of their seats, open up the door, and jump out of the airplane. Are you going to jump out of the airplane? Or let's say that you get one that's a readout of altitude. You get a notification that says every 10 seconds it tells you the altitude of the plane. And within the last 10 seconds, the altitude of the plane has changed by 500 feet. We went from 3,000 feet down to 29,500. All of a sudden, you see 15 people get out of their seats. They open up the door. They jump out of the airplane. Are you jumping out of that airplane? Now, I think the answer to both of those questions is, of course not. I'm not jumping out of this airplane just because we see a little bit of a slowdown or just because we see a little bit of a dip. But I want you to think about what we experience in the market from time to time. Every single second, we have the ability to see what the market is doing. We can open up our phone. We can open up our computer. I mean, most of the time, we get hit with market news, especially on bad days, without even looking for it. Facebook will tell us, market was bad today. Market looks like it's going to be bad today. These types of notifications are nothing but what we call financial noise. And the first Friday of every month, we get reports that tell us how the economy is doing. We talked about some of them. We get reports on how many jobs have been created, how many jobs have been lost, how many people are unemployed. We get reports on how much money is being spent on manufacturing, how much money is being spent as a country. Where are we at with our GDP? Where are we at with all of these reports that we can find? How is inflation doing? We get all of these reports, and if you go looking for them, you can find a ton of reasons to believe the airplane is crashing, aka the market is going to lose money. But at the end of the day, if we think about the legitimacy of the market will go down to zero, it's not a very valid argument. Now, I'm not here to preach that the market is the best thing for you in your situation, because there are times where you must, quote unquote, exit the airplane. But what I'm here to argue, and I believe that you should certainly lend an ear to this argument, is that no matter what happens in the market, until it's your time to exit the airplane, the worst thing you can do is open the door and walk out. Well, how do I know when it's my time, Dale? Well, you've got to put a plan together. If I get on an airplane right now in Nashville and I know I'm going to Charlotte, North Carolina, I'm not stepping a foot off of that airplane until I have landed in Charlotte, North Carolina. And there's a very optimal time in which it would be best to step a foot off of the airplane. And that's when we have pulled up to the gate and the little ramp that comes out to get you has pulled up to the airplane. When I can walk very easily from one state, which was flying, into a different state, which is walking. This type of transition is altogether different. And there is an optimal time for it. You see, jumping out of the airplane just because the speed has decreased by, let's say, 5%, that's a stupid thing to do because there may have been a reason for the pilot to have decreased the airplane. There may have been a turbulence, perhaps, that has just taken place, and you might have felt every bit of that turbulence. And then, oh my goodness, you get a readout, 5% drop in the speed. We're crashing. Could be the first thing that crosses your mind. But the reality is, you are in something that's built to fly. Your best chance of reaching your destination is staying with the airplane. The parallel here with investing is we don't just sell all of our stocks simply because we've felt a little bit of turbulence or we get a readout saying that we're slowing down. And unfortunately, that's exactly what took place on August the 2nd and August the 5th. This sell-off that we experienced in the market was simply due to a few readouts that didn't necessarily say we weren't growing. All it said is that we weren't growing as fast as we previously were. In other words, it said that the airplane wasn't no longer flying, but instead it's just not flying as fast as it once was. This is not a sign of a recession. Not this by itself. And we hear it all the time. Dale, are you thinking we are up against a recession? Is a recession coming? And my answer for that is yes. A recession is coming. If you live long enough, you will see another recession. What I cannot tell you is when. But what I can tell you is that it doesn't matter when the recession is coming. It matters where you are along this journey, and that determines what you need to be doing. If you are less than 5 years from retirement, a recession can certainly derail your retirement plan. If you are more than 5 years from retirement, a recession may give you a perfect opportunity to buy more of the same. So let me talk to you if you're less than 5 years from retirement. If you're less than 5 years from retirement, this is what we talk about being over the age of 59 and a half. You need to be looking at safeguarding some of the assets that you've already made, giving them the ability to still make money if the market goes up, but not allowing them to take the significant losses if we should actually enter into a recession. Waiting until we get a readout that says we're in recession is entirely too late, because the reality is what we're reading is what has already taken place. What we need to be sure of is that a retirement plan is built to not only react to what has happened, but to be proactive in the sense that you can rest assured no matter what happens in the future, you are going to be okay. This is where RD Smothers Wealth Management comes in. Our team works with you to build a plan, allowing you to know that, hey, the income that we need is going to be there, no matter what happens in the market. Allowing you to know that we are going to pay just enough in taxes to where it's our fair share and it's not too much along our retirement journey. Knowing when to take Social Security and what Medicare decisions to make. This is just some of what we assist our clients with, and we do it by building them a roadmap that we call the Retirement Atlas. It allows you to know what twists and turns lie ahead, what decisions you need to make when you arrive at a crossroads, and what's even more important is knowing that somebody on our team is going to be there for you when you call back to ask for assistance. In other words, we walk with you along this journey. We are your guides, getting you from where you are to where you want to be. All right, guys, that's the show this week. It has flown by. We've used some analogies. We've done some positive reflection. We have covered a lot in this show. And I hope, more than anything, I hope that I've given you a little bit of an understanding on what's going on in the market right now and helped you understand that the decisions you make should not be based off of fear or based off of reports that you read, and certainly not based off of what everyone else is doing at the present time. Instead, it should be based off of a plan, a well-written and thought-out plan, knowing where you want to arrive, and then making decisions based off of where you are in this journey. Do not react to fear. If you're worried about uncertainty, you're worried about what could lie ahead, and you are over the age of 59 and a half, call us. 270-600-PLAN. We would love an opportunity to sit down with you and show you how you can build some peace of mind into your portfolio. If you're under 59 and a half and you need assistance, we're still here for you. A lot of what we're going to tell you is be prepared to ride out the bumps in the road and be ready to buy if it gets low enough. If you're looking for that type of assistance or you need a little bit of advice, our team is here. We would love an opportunity to talk to you. 270-600-PLAN. I'm back in person, fresh from vacation, ready for the back half of this year, and excited to deliver a lot of good content to you. If you are a listener of the show, you're going to hear a new format very soon, and I think you're going to like the way that information is delivered. Listen, until we talk again, whether that's in person, over a phone call, or simply on this radio station, always remember, save money, plan well, and live happy. God bless.
Investment advisory services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management and R.D. Smothers Wealth Management are not affiliated companies. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. R.D. Smothers Wealth Management is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by R.D. Smothers Wealth Management.